As you can see, the signature of the plant, how the leaves have that kind of cup shape, and then how they hold all that water and the dew that collects in there, being just such a clear signature for the womb. I've worked with this plant a lot to also help support women on their reproductive systems and in their womb, and kind of on that emotional and psycho-spiritual level, working with the plant for womb cleansing. Is that water element is really strong and with this plant. You can see the way it holds water and can help to kind of move some of that stagnation or trauma or things that are maybe held in the womb. That I've used it in herbal baths for womb cleansing, and just absolutely love this plant. And I've also heard other herbalists talk about it in a way that it also kind of surrounds one in like a mantle of protection, that there's kind of this protective quality of this plant for sensitive and sensitive people. And so it's a good plant that I love a lot. As far as growing this plant, this is a super easy plant to grow, at least in the temperate northwest climates where I live. And being a native plant of Europe, we have a similar kind of climate here where we are in the Pacific Northwest. And it's this herb is this actual plant right here that's in front of me. I've been carrying along pieces of it for about like 15 years. I originally got a clump of lady's mantle, dug it up out of my first herb teacher's garden and planted it in my mom's garden, and it just grew and took over and dug up a chunk and brought it with me as I moved. And so this clump here is from that original plant that I dug up out of my herb teacher's garden about 15 years ago. And I've just been bringing it with me and digging it up, and then here we are, and it just loves to keep growing. I have grown it in the full sun right here. It's full sun and it's doing really well. And I also have clumps growing in the shade, and it's doing well in the shade too. So this herb is pretty resilient and pretty easy to grow. It is one that I have not had success with growing by seed very well. I've tried a couple times, and it's a light dependent germinator, and I don't know why it hasn't quite worked for me growing it from seed, but the seeds have a really short lifespan, so maybe that the seed I had was too old. But that if you do try it from seed, just remember that it does need to be able to have exposure to the light to be able to germinate. So when we went to Norway to see visit our homeland and see where our family was from, and we got to see lady's mantle growing in its native habitat, which was just such a joy for me, having a relationship with this plant for so many years, and then getting to meet it in its own native wild habitat. And we saw it growing along streams by the water and out, in shady, kind of moist areas. And then I was actually really surprised. I saw it when we were up hiking in the mountains, and there was lady's mantle just covering the entire the land. It was mixed in with wild blueberries, and it was just in this really harsh, kind of cold, windy environment where it reminded me of just kind of like a tundra almost. and they're just these little lady's mantle plants just covering the whole landscape. And so it's a really hardy herb, so it's really cool to see it in just these different environments, on the lush creek in the woods, and then up in the mountains, and this windswept landscape with with those high mountain blueberries, and it was just really happy in all of those environments. So it's to me special just having connections with those plants, that there's obviously a deep ancestral relationship, that our ancestors have relationships for thousands and thousands of years. And so I love growing those plants from where my people are from. And one of the things I've noticed, if you do want to spread this plant, if you can find someone who has it in their garden and dig it up, and you can dig up a little chunk of it, and then it'll eventually keep spreading, and you can keep digging up more chunks and move it around your garden. And you can really see the relationship that it has to. I noticed when I was digging it up, I could see how it looks just like, grows like strawberries, kind of has those similar structure and those that same family of plants. And so yeah, it's an easy one to grow, and I definitely encourage you to just have it around, and especially get out early in the morning where you can see the dew collecting all around it, and just it has a magical quality to it. So I hope you get to deepen your relationship with this plant, grow it in your garden and in a pot, or just have it around. It's a good medicine to have around.
So that's just a little bit about Lady's Mantle today. Hopefully you learned something good about this plant. We're actually gonna be, it's Friday, so it's Venus Day here out on the farm, and we're gonna be harvesting this Lady's Mantle and taking it into the lab to prepare it as a spagyric. You know, sometimes a lot of people might prefer to harvest it, you know, before it's going into flower, but I find that the astringency and the tannin content is still really nice even when it's gone to flower. This literally just started to flower in the last day or two, and so I think this is a really prime time to harvest. There's also just kind of like that energetic quality or spiritual quality of having the flower in the medicine that I really like. And you know, some plants you really want to harvest before they go to flower. You know, things like nettle leaf, definitely get it before it flowers. Horsetail, you really got to get it before it gets too low. But this is one of those herbs where, yeah, some herbalists might really prefer it before it goes to flower, but I have been working with this plant for a really long time and making medicine out of it for a long time, and I haven't really noticed a significant difference in terms of its potency. Generally, I prefer to prepare plants fresh. Because this is a tannin-rich plant, it does yield well to more of a less concentrated alcohol. So typically if you're preparing it dried, you know, tannin-rich plants, I say like kind of like a 30-ish% alcohol is usually good. Because we're preparing this fresh, we'll be bumping that alcohol percentage up probably to around 50% or so. Depending on how damp it is, we'll take it in and kind of see what the moisture content is and adjust our alcohol percentage from there. And yeah, I really love it in tincture form. It can be prepared as a tea, though tannin-rich herbs in teas sometimes are a little unpleasant, and if you make them too strong, they can be a little upsetting to the stomach. But it's not too disagreeable as a tea, but I really prefer it as a tincture. And this is just a really wonderful remedy to have around and a lovely plant to have in the garden.